everyone, it's Gina from orchidandopal.com, and I'm back today with another tutorial. This is for a bracelet which was inspired by the recent Beading School Academy bi-monthly subscription box, and all the materials for the very bottom bracelet came directly from that box. This bracelet is made up of several components. We're going to be making the round components first, and you can make as many of those as you want and assemble those together with some GemDuos in between to make a bracelet. You could also use these separately as earrings or put them together in any sort of way really to make another type of jewelry. Down below I'll leave the links to everything that you'll need to make one of these bracelets. We'll be making the 5-component style that you see in the greenish turquoise today. And I'll leave all the quantities and everything for that, as well as the links. You can find everything you need at BeadingSchool in all sorts of different colors, so you can have fun with that. And I'll also leave the link to Beading School Academy right down below the video if you'd like to sign up for that subscription and get these fun surprises of high quality check glass and Japanese seed beads and findings in your mailbox on a regular basis. In the bottom example, in the blue and the white, that subscription box had only come with 4 of those sew-on crystals in the size that we need, which is fine. This gives you another idea as to how to put the bracelet together. If you only have 4 of those crystals, you would then just extend your areas on either side, perhaps, of the GemDuo beads to add to the length. But today we're going to be making 5 of these components, so I'm going to show you how to make 1, and we'll do that together, and then you can back up the video and make the remaining 4 of them. Then I'll show you how to assemble these together into the finished bracelet. As a brief rundown, you'll need some GemDuo beads, 15-0 seed beads, 11-0 Delicas or round seed beads, and some 3mm fire polish or something of a similar size. For my beading needle today, I'll be using a size 11, and I'll be using the 6-pound test Fireline in the black color so it's easier for you to see. In the center there, I have a Preciosa 6mm sew-on crystal. They've got tons of those at Beading School, and they even have a special deal bundle where you can get all sorts of different colors in one box. And real quick, just looking at the back, you can see how it's already in a setting that we can use to sew it directly into our component. Besides that, you'll need the clasps and jump rings or other findings of your choice to finish off your bracelet. And to get started, just go ahead and gather up your materials, thread your needle with a comfortable length of beading thread, and we will jump into this tutorial. To get started, we're going to string on the following sequence. We're going to do 1 3mm bead, then sew through 2 of your GemDuos, and just make sure you're going through the same side as you're picking all of these up, whichever side that is you want to pick them up by. Then pick up another 3mm, 2 more GemDuos. You're just repeating this pattern 4 times. And go ahead and bring those beads down to your tail thread and leave yourself about a 4 to 6 inch tail that you can weave back in later. And now what you want to do is take your working thread and sew around all of those beads again. So starting with that 3mm, just go through the same holes of the GemDuo beads and everything until you get back to the beginning. And just make sure you don't miss any beads. All right, now when you lay everything flat and look at this from the top, you should have something that looks like this. Again, make sure your GemDuo beads are all facing in the same direction, and your tail thread and working thread are now meeting. I'm going to make a simple overhand knot first in that section. And then I'm going to go over my working thread in the other direction and go around that 2 times. So a surgeon's knot and pull. And then at this point, I like to add a needle to my tail thread and just weave that back around and trim off the excess. You can do that now or you can do it later. I'm going to do it now just to get it out of the way for the tutorial, and I'll be right back. And now with your working thread, you can just continue until you're coming out of one of your 3mm fire polish beads. And at this point, we're going to sew in our crystal. So take your crystal, just go through one of those holes there that crisscross through the back and pull that down to your beadwork. And we are going to attach that area to the fire polish directly across from the one that we are coming out of. And I started on this side of the fire polish on this side of the piece, so I'm actually going to go through the other side of the fire polish, starting out on the opposite side of the piece. So I'm going to go this way, and then I'm going to go back through the same hole of that sew-on crystal, and then I'm going to sew through the other direction of the fire polish that we started out at. So what we did was we crisscrossed through that crystal going in one direction and attached it to both of these fire polish beads. Now we want to get to our next fire polish, so just keep sewing through the next 2 GemDuos and sew through the next fire polish. And now you're going to attach that other hole back there to these 2 fire polish beads. So you're going to go through that section behind the crystal, through that hole, and then sew this time through the fire polish on the other side. We're going in this direction now. Then we're going to sew back up through that same hole of the crystal back there. And then, since we started out on this side of the fire polish, we're going to sew through the other side. And give that a good pull, and now your crystal is firmly in place in the center of this beadwork, and there's a look at what the back should look like. Hey guys, sorry about this interruption, but in this next step, I made a little error. I actually meant for you to pick up 1 Delica, 1 15-0, and 1 Delica. So you are welcome to do it just like I showed you here in the video, but just know that I meant to say Delica 15-0 Delica. Sorry about that. Now back to the video. Now with your needle coming out of this fire polish bead, we're going to pick up a 15-0, then an 11-0, and then a 15-0, and then we're going to sew through the next fire polish bead that we get to. And do that 3 more times all the way around your piece. So that was a 15-0, an 11-0, and a 15-0. Then sew through the next fire polish that you get to. And now do that 2 more times. So that's what you have so far, and then you can continue sewing through the bottom hole of the next GemDuo. And in between each of those sections, we're going to pick up 1 15-0 and sew through the next. Then in this next section, pick up 2 15-0s, 1 11-0, and 2 15-0s. Skip the fire polish and go through the next GemDuo. Now once again in this section, pick up a 15-0 and sew through the next GemDuo. Then in this next fire polish section, you're not actually going to add anything there at this point. So just continue sewing through the next 3mm and the next GemDuo. And now you're going to repeat what you just did. So once again, pick up a 15-0, sew through the next GemDuo. Then pick up two 15-0s, an 11-0, and two 15-0s. And sew through the next GemDuo. And then finally pick up a 15-0 and sew through the next GemDuo. So here's what we have so far. I'm just going to continue sewing through these beads until I get to that next section over the fire polish with the 15-0s and the 11-0. And I'm going to head up through the two 15-0s right there, and then through that 11-0. Then I'm going to pick up two 15-0s, and this time sew through the upper hole of the next GemDuo. So now we're coming out of the upper hole of this one, and we're at the point where we have that single 15-0 down there. This is where we're going to pick up four 15-0s, then go directly through the 15-0 that's already placed at the bottom there. Then skip that one that we went through and go up through the next two that we just added and pick up two new 15-0s. Then sew through the upper hole of the next GemDuo, just like that. Now when we get to the section where there's nothing there over the fire polish, we're going to pick up five 15-0s. Then sew directly through the fire polish bead. And do that again. Pick up five 15-0s. And then sew this time through the outer hole of the next GemDuo. So now we've gotten all those sections done, and it's just a matter of repeating in a similar way all the way around. Now we're at a section again where there's a 15-0 in between these two GemDuos, and just like we did before, we'll pick up four of our 15-0s, then sew through the 15-0 there at the bottom. Skip that one at the bottom and sew through those next two 15-0s we just added. Pull that, and then pick up two new 15-0s and sew through the outer hole of the next GemDuo. Now once we get to this section with our 11-0, we're going to pick up two 15-0s, go through the 11-0 only, pick up two new 15-0s, and go through the outer hole of the next GemDuo. And then in this section, for the third time, pick up four 15-0s, sew through the 15-0 at the bottom, turn it a little bit, skip the one at the bottom, go through the two that you get to next that you had just added, pick up your two new ones, and go through the GemDuo. Once again, in this section, that's where you're going to pick up five 15-0s, and then sew directly through the fire polish. You can bend the beadwork just a little bit if you need to get through that. Gently, of course. Pick up five 15-0s again, and then sew through the outer hole of the next GemDuo. And then we're back at this section where we're going to pick up four. And then back toward the beginning where we started, we're going to finish this section by picking up 2 15-0s and sewing through the 11-0. And this is what we have now. We're almost done. But now we're going to follow our thread path to one of these sections where we have the 5 seed beads on either side. So I'm just going to continue sewing through those next 2 15-0s right there, through the GemDuo. I'll follow these 15-0s. Head through that one at the bottom, and then through that GemDuo down there, and that gets us to where we want to be. Now we'll go up through the first 4 out of the 5 15-0s in that section, and then pick up 3 of your 11-0s. Now go down through the bottom 4 15-0s on the other side, and you can see we just added those 3 11-0s right there. Now I just like to go around that section one more time to reinforce it, through the 11-0s, and back down through the 15-0s. Just like that. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. We just need to get there. And I'm going to turn my piece and sew through that 3mm. Then I'm going to sew straight through that hole in the setting of the crystal. And just flipping this over on the back so you can see where I am. Now I'm just going to sew through the 3mm bead like this. And there's more than one way to do that. However you need to do it to get back to this section on this side and do the same thing. Now we'll go up through the first 4 15-0s on this side, pick up our 3 11-0s, and go down through the first 4 15-0s on the other side. Then go around that section one more time to reinforce it. There we go. So that is a component completed. Now all we need to do is tie off this thread. We can make several half-hitch knots. Can make one right here, making a loop and going through that. And then I'll go up through these next 4. You can do this however you want. I'll make another one right there and go through a few more beads. And I'll go ahead and make a third one right there. And then sew down through some more beads. And trim off my working thread. So you're going to make 5 components just like this if you want to make a bracelet like I showed in the example before, which will come out to be a little over 7 inches in length. Just back up the video and make more of these components. And once you have all 5, we will meet back and start putting these all together. And welcome back. Right now, I'm going to show you how to assemble this bracelet. And what I show you now, you're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. And you can see that I have this example already done for you on one end of the bracelet. We're going to be making a very simple herringbone loop. That's something that you can use to attach your jump rings to or your clasp. If your clasp is big enough, you can even attach it directly to that without using a jump ring, which is what I was able to do in this example. But most of my toggle clasps are smaller, so I'm going to show you simply how to make the herringbone loop on one end, and then I'll be using some jump rings to attach the clasp. And then after we do that on one side, I will show you how to connect all of your components together using another GemDuo and some more of your seed beads. But let's start with that simple herringbone loop. And you want to be coming out of the central 11-0 on one of your components right there, and you want to pick up 2 of your 15-0s. And we're going to make a herringbone strip of beads that is going to be 2 beads wide and 12 beads long. So I picked up 2, I went through that 11-0, and I came back up through the one on the right, picking up another 2. I'm going down the 15-0 on the left. Sewing through the 11-0 again in this case, and then sewing up through the 2 on the right. And we'll just keep going in this manner. This time I'm picking up 2 15-0s, and I'm going to go down through the 1 15-0 on the left, and then go up through the 2 on the right. So we have 3 now. We need to go until we have 12 on each side. All right, now once you have a strip of herringbone that is 2 by 12, and I'm coming out of this bead on this side right here, we're going to turn this into a loop. So just fold that in half pretty much. And if I'm coming out of this bead over here, then I need to enter through this 11-0 this way. Just go through whichever side corresponds to the side you're coming out of. And then you're going to go back up through that strip of beads. Now I need to go through the other side. We're going to sew around this several times to reinforce it and bring this all together. But there is the start of our loop. So I'm just going to continue on sewing through these 15-0s in this row and keep pulling it tight. Now I'm going to go back through the 11-0 again, and I'm going to sew up through this other row now. And then I'm going to go back through the 11-0 again. And you're welcome to go through that as many times as you'd like to. And once you are comfortable with how tight that all is, then you can just follow your thread path through the beadwork to get to this 11-0 on the opposite side. That's where we're going to start to connect that to our other component. So of course there's multiple ways you could do this. I'm just going to continue on down through that next 11-0 and then travel through those 15-0s. I'll go through the fire polish right here. And then I'll just go straight through that crystal, I think. Then I'll go through the fire polish on the other side. And sew up through these 15 O's and the next 11 O and then the next 11 O that's in the center. And that's where we want to be coming out to connect this to our next component. So what you're going to do, get a GemDuo ready, and you can pick up 3 of your 15 O's, and then your GemDuo is going to sit like this. So if you're coming out in this direction from the 11 O, you'll pick that up in this manner, and then pick up 3 more 15 O's and go up through the central 11 O on one side of a new component. You can start to pull that together. You can see that's how it's going to sit. Then we want to pick up 3 more 15 O's, and this time we can go through the open hole on the other side of the GemDuo. Pick up 3 more 15 O's and go through the 11 O that's on this side. So we're just sewing these two together, getting this started, and it's loosely holding these two components together. We want to reinforce this area and also add some more seed beads. Let's continue by sewing up through the next 3 15 O's that we get to. And then as you're heading toward the peak of this GemDuo, you're going to pick up 2 15 O's, an 11 O and 2 15 O's. Then sew through the next 3 15 O's. Continue sewing up the 11 O on the other component and up through the next 3 15 O's. To match what we did on the other side, pick up 2 15 O's, an 11 O and 2 15 O's. And now sew down through the 3 15 O's on the other side and close that up. Now we want to tighten this up further, so I'm just turning this so it's easier for me to work with. We're going to skip the 11 O this time and just sew up through these 5 15 O's. We're going to skip the 11 O at the top there and just sew through the 5 15 O's on this side. And you can see how that makes that pointed a little bit more to follow the shape of our GemDuo. Then I'm going to skip the next 11 O again and sew through the next 5 15 O's. Pull this tight as you go. Skip that next 11 O and then sew through the next 5 15 O's. And then that one pops up like that. So then we need to follow our thread path to get to this side of the second component we added. So we can continue by doing the exact same thing and adding the rest of our components that way. So just continue sewing. You can go through or you can skip that 11 O that you get to next once again, but keep skipping the 11 O's at the top and the bottom. Going through the 5 15 O's, the next 11 O on the other component. And then just like we did before, we're going to just follow our thread path, however you want to do that, and get to the other side of that next component so you can add on your next one. And now we're in position to do the exact same thing again. So what you can do now is just back up the video and add your next component on just like we did before. And when you get to your very last one, you're going to create another little herringbone loop just like we did before. So you can back up the video again for that if you need to, and just make the same identical thing on the other side. So I've got one more to connect to the remainder of this bracelet, and once I do that, I will meet you back and we will add our clasp. All right, so I have attached one side, and I'm going to use 2 jump rings just so this lays properly. I'm going to pick one up, or 2, since that one wanted to jump on board, and then I'm going to go through that one and just keep it closed, and then I'm going to feed that onto our herringbone loop on this side. And just take another pair of pliers and twist that closed. And then I'll open that second jump ring by twisting that open gently and pop on the other side of the clasp and twist this closed. There we go. So that is our bracelet all said and done. And now we can take a look at all of them together. And there's our bracelet, second one from the bottom. And like I said, if you make it just like this, it should come out to just a little over 7 inches in length. And of course you can make these as long or as short as you want. And if you don't have enough crystals, you can even make fewer components and use more of those diamond-shaped GemDuo sections to extend the length of your bracelet. Once again, everything for the very bottom bracelet and the inspiration for this design came to me from the Thetis' Treasure themed Beading School Academy bi-monthly subscription box. I highly recommend that subscription, especially if you enjoy bead weaving and high-quality beads and findings. I'll leave the link to that subscription down below. You can also check out my playlist and see past unboxings. And of course, you can get everything you need separately from Beading School to make these bracelets and a whole lot more. You can check the list of materials, quantities, and links below the video for those too. I'll also update the corresponding blog post if you're curious about specific colors used in each of these colorways. And if you decide to give this bracelet a try or have anything else you'd like to say, I'd love to hear about it. Feel free to leave me a comment down below. Be sure to give the video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel while you're here because I'd love to have you back for future projects. And be sure to share this video with your other beading friends. That's all I have for now. Huge thank you to you all for joining me today. I'll see you again soon. In the meantime, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. And as always, happy beading.